Welcome, Highfalutin Ski Bum Podcast, episode number 270. It is your pals, Mario and Brian. Mario, what's up?
Not much, just getting back from a little ski vacation and chilling out. Things are going good, I gotta say.
Crazy enough, this is our first episode of the new year because you were away. Yeah, because I got the last episode out pretty much New Year's Eve of last year, which I probably could have held, but I wanted to get it out. I wanted to get it out for people who were traveling for New Year's. Then you went away. Last week I was away for a couple days. So now we are recording this on the Sunday of MLK weekend. There's a big snowstorm hitting the East Coast, which is very, very needed up in the northern New England and New York area. So we're recording this now.
The South, isn't it? Like hitting the middle of the country?
It's a nor'easter, I think, technically. So it's kind of coming up the coast right now, and we're getting rain, pretty heavy wind. But I'm just below the snow line where I am at the beach here, sadly. But I was looking at the forecasts, and Hunter's looking at like a 5 to 11-ish.
Damn.
I think Killington was looking at 6 to 15. And I know Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana. You're like, oh, that's a nice little dusting. East Coast. That is powder day for the ages. So
boom.
It's hitting now. Hopefully it delivers as expected. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for listening. We're talking about Mario's trip to Crested Butte later on, so stay tuned for that in the main topic. Thank you again for listening. We do appreciate it. Check us out, skibumpodcast.com. We're on your favorite podcasting app, so please go rate and subscribe. We're on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Untapped, at Ski Bum Podcast. Send us an email, skibumpodcast@gmail.com. If you need stickers, boom, like these, I got them. You can send them to you. And send us an email or DM us on Instagram. We'll get some out to you. Big shout out and thank you to our sponsors. Plural sponsors. First off, not sure if you know this or not, but you know now, we are back again. Our pals Terracea are back as sponsors again for this season, and we really do appreciate it. Terracea, go to terracea.com, TERRACEA. Big shout out. They've got some premium cold weather solutions. Their mission is to create best-in-class apparel that can be worn in any cold temperature environment, designed with thoughtful features and fit, and always providing the optimum level of performance for whatever you are doing. We also fully believe in the idea that good products can always be made better and strive to constantly improve, refine, and optimize all facets of our products. Go to their website, terracea.com. Use the code TerraceaBum, 15% off. As an example, this is my beautiful Juniper puffer jacket. I got to tell you, I've had other big name brands. This is just as good, if not better. I love this thing. It's super comfortable. It's light. It's really warm. I've also got a dope pair of their bib ski pants. Also awesome. I have my jacket from last year. I love Terracea. Eric and Mike, who we work with. We've had Eric on the podcast. We've had Mike on the podcast, both for interviews. Great guys. It's a great company. They're really doing some cool stuff. They're just getting bigger. Check them out. Thank you, Terracea. Also, our pals, Paradise Skis. ParadiseSkis.com. Check them out. They make seriously fun skis. They're all about making skiing as fun as possible, whether that's shredding laps in Hawaiian shirts, bringing the parking lot après, or getting up early to go for that huge backcountry objective. It's our mission to build skis and snowboards that allow our customers to enjoy every single day in the mountains. Go to their site, ParadiseSkis.com. Use the code SKIBUM15, 15% off. They got the reds, which are not behind me at the moment, the resort skis, the blues, the backcountries, and they got the green split board for you boarders out there. They're making cool stuff. Check them out. Thank you, Paradise Skis. Mario, let's kick it off the way we always do.
It's time for Après Today.
Après Today is, today there was football on TV, so it was kind of an all-day après, I have to say.
Look at you.
Yeah, playoff football going on. Now I'm in Tampa. Everybody's watching at 1, and I actually I just celebrated a birthday this week.
That's right.
Had a
Happy
little,
birthday.
thank you. Had a little family get together. Made sure I got the hell out of there so I can watch the Tampa Bay game at 1:00. It was tough. I was like, well, why don't we move it to almost a breakfast? And my mom was like, sure, whatever time. I'm like, this is on me now, right? This is Mario time. So
Friggin' Champa Bay down there. Another big
Tampa
W.
Bay had a night of casino action last night. That was good. That ended up pretty good. I think our side gig, Brian, will be showing people ways to have as much chance as they can at casinos, because we can do that. Like, I think we legally can now at this point.
You think so? I know I was doing my card counting for a while. I had the app. It worked pretty well.
Alleged card counting.
Alleged card counting.
I just played straight up strategy and just whatever. I did pretty well. Walked away. I'm not saying any numbers because I know somebody from the IRS is listening. But let's just say, I'm into the Seminole tribe. I'm into them, or they're into me. Like,
are you scalping the Seminole tribe? Is that what you're telling us right now?
I'm hitting them pretty bad. Like, it's not, there's no reparations there. I'm beating them up pretty good, and I'm proud of it. So they're trying to give me free rooms and shit. And I'm like, no, I live pretty close. I live by the beach. I don't need a free room, but I'll come down every once in a while. I'll take it for a few hundred, we'll say.
Well, so if anyone is in the Lake Tahoe area and wants to invite us out for our gambling consultation, we're like not bad blackjack players. Like it's been noted. We've
legit.
We've heard some casinos in our day. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
we are available. We are concierge.
Concierge. You talk to people and they're like, "Oh, I don't know how to play blackjack." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. I go and I play blackjack. That's what I do."
Just remember, the jack is black.
The jack is black. Oh, we've had our times. We had some fun times, good times and bad times.
We've had many stories of casino nights. We used to go a lot. Like that was a big thing for us for a while there.
Yeah.
I mean, before we started doing the share houses up in Vermont, we were doing a lot of those Pocono trips, and we would just kind of make them like casino ski trips.
And then we do the biking and Atlantic City trips. That would happen too. Like there's a lot of things that we'd have going on.
Yeah.
Our buddy Harry. Shout out to Harry.
Shout out to Harry.
That's awesome. Anyway, so as we get into this, like it's been a good week. Been out praying all day, and I gotta say, I gotta finish the day off because I'm still on vacation because I have tomorrow off for MLK. It's kind of nice. My wife doesn't have off, so she's kind of sleeping.
You get a free day. That's awesome.
Free day by myself. Like I might be able to sleep more than I might be able to take a nap in the afternoon. Let's put it that way. So right now I figure why not just push the envelope since it's my birthday weekend and have I got a fucking King Sue for my après.
King Sue, nice.
So
boy, that's a heavy hitter.
Oh yeah. So the Pseudo Sue is pretty damn good. It's an IPA at like 7 something.
It's at least a double, isn't it?
The King Sue's a double, and that is hopping in at a whopping. I'm going to our favorite Untapped and Beer Advocate. So this is scored a 100, world class. This has a 100 rating on Beer Advocate right now.
100.
100.
Which means it could not be improved. It is perfection. It is beer perfection.
It's beer perfection. And this is 3,364 ratings. So this is pretty well rated. It's number 65 on the top 100. I gotta say,
it's rated 100, but it's only number 65.
Yes. So there are other ones.
What sort of curve? Is there like honors beer that they're getting like a 5.0 grade point average on their beers?
Yeah, I don't know. So this is a 100 world class ranked number 65 out of the 100, maybe average rating 4.58. So I don't exactly know how so their ratings are based on out of 5. So this is a 4.58, but I guess they take the ratings and they do some churning and they say it's in the top 100. So that's why it's world class. Yeah. So in the style, it's ranked number 17. So they have multiple ratings going here. So the score, whatever. Bottom line, it's freaking delicious.
Wait, which are you looking at? Beer Advocate or?
This Beer Advocate.
Beer Advocate. Okay.
So this is a double IPA. It's only whopping in at a 7.8, which I say only, but that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not ridiculous, but it's
Now I've had this before, and it tastes like a double. Because you try the single, and I gotta say the pseudo Sue, if you could find that one's delicious. And Toppling Goliath, they're out of Iowa, but I believe they brew in Florida, which is why I have a source down here. The pseudo Sue is one of my favorite because it's not. This tastes like on the double flavor profile. You know how it starts getting a little boozy and a little stronger and a little maltier. But it's not quite to that edge where you taste some of them and you're like, wow, this is really kind of boozy and stuff. So it's still very drinkable. I would say crushable, drinkable though.
yeah, there's not
Very-
many crushable double IPAs.
Yeah. So it's got that malty aged flavor to it. Like, tasting notes on it. They're saying, Citra Hop double IPA, say a lot of stuff about, tasting pineapple and citra. It tastes on the citrus side, but tastes like an aged. It has that I don't know, more of a mature malty finish than something kind of new. And when you have the pseudo Sue, you taste the opposite of you taste what comes before this. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a great tasting if you do pseudo Sue and then this one, you're like, oh, I see. It's all the same flavor profile. It's just the pseudo Sue is a little bit lighter and friendlier. This is a little bit more danker and heavier, and you could it's getting towards the boozy side. So, but it's delicious, I tell you what. And I can't believe how available it is for something this highly rated. I'm like, wow, this is definitely
Times have changed, right?
within reach. Yeah, exactly.
You hear about the meat departments in all the grocery stores being empty. Beer keeps pushing through.
Keep
We've always
pushing.
got beer.
Well, I got this pre-pandemic toilet paper. So I guess you could either get this or toilet paper, maybe. I don't know. Or
You've
maybe the
chosen
beer
wisely.
guy's still driving and the toilet paper guy's not driving
You
anymore.
get beer and a bidet. What do you need toilet paper for?
A
You're good to
bidet.
go.
Yeah, so definitely get a bidet. That's a good move, especially in this scenario.
These questionable times, yes.
All right, what do you got for Opry?
So I've got a beer that I know that you are a fan of and you've had on the podcast before. I acquired it while I was up in Vermont skiing a few weeks ago up in
Ooh,
Killington. I mentioned it briefly on our me and Andrea did our podcast in the car coming back home.
yes, that was good.
Good old Burlington Beer Company, Creatures of Magic.
That's a pretty good one, right?
This is a good beer. Yeah, the can is unbelievable. It's awesome. Burlington
Yeah.
Beer Company just puts out great stuff. So Creatures of Magic is a New England style IPA brewed with Mosaic, Simcoe, Yucano to provide flavors and aromas of melon, blueberry, citrus zest, and pine needles.
Nice.
Now, there is more than 20% of the grist bill comprised of oat malt and flaked oats for an extra creamy body. I like me some creamy body. That's for damn sure. This is good. I wouldn't call it light, but at 6.5% for an IPA, hazy IPA, it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
I will tell you, this does taste better after skiing. 1,000%. This in a hot tub after skiing, that's where this belongs. That's
Nice.
its happy place. A basement in New Jersey, it works. It's good. But it's home where it belongs. This is a great après ski beer because 6.5, it's not, it lets you know it's there, but it's not going to knock you on your butt right away either. So
That's
and
awesome.
it's just tasty and the can is super cool. So I'd highly recommend this if you get your hands on it. Comes in at, solid 4.08 on Untapped. Not crazy. Not, it's not in the top 10 beers of all time. But you know what? Doesn't have to be.
Nice.
It makes me happy right now. So thank you, Burlington Beer Company. Yummy.
Yeah, that's a delicious beer.
Very good stuff.
Make some good stuff, man.
Ah, love Vermont. Love Burlington beer.
Let's go to ski news.
Now, the ski news this week, it's almost broken into 2 chunks with an interlude.
An interlude. I like that.
Yeah, because the first 2 stories has happened over the last couple weeks. They're similar stories, and it's the theme of it is chairlift issues. The first story is that man seriously injured after chairlift detaches from cable at Wildcat Mountain, New Hampshire,
That's always one of my biggest fears, honestly.
a Vail-owned resort. A man suffered serious injuries after falling almost 10 feet from a ski lift chair at Wildcat Mountain in New Hampshire. The incident happened Saturday on the Snowcat Triple Chair, reports State Fire Marshal Sean Toomey. The man in his early 20s fell 10 feet to the ground and suffered serious rib injuries. Other riders on the lift were not affected. The lift at the Vail Resort's owned ski area will remain closed while a full investigation is conducted. Like you mentioned, that is super terrifying.
You know,
When you
I
think
can
about, like,
understand it might happen. I think this seems like it happened like right after the chairlift engaged, right? Like not like in the middle. But I don't know.
I mean, I hope so, because that's one of those things, we've all been in those situations where
It says a
you
misload
are,
of a chair. So if they misload it, they're saying it hit the pylon or whatever. So there's no video of it happening, but I can imagine you misload the chair. Maybe you load it incorrectly to one side and then it drifts or something and hits something and then maybe detaches. But I'm always afraid of like you're on a chair and riding and all of a sudden the fucking rope drops and everybody drops or your chair just goes off. Like, I don't know. Scary
we've
shit.
all been in those situations where, you stop, like the lift stops for whatever reason, and you're kind of just there swinging, and you look down, you're like, how
Dude,
far am I up here? About 50 feet. Like, what would I do if I had to just, like, if this thing dropped? Like, how would
yeah.
I bail?
Dude, the worst was we're in Stowe in that little gondola and it was a complete whiteout and that chair was going and they're like, yeah, we slowed it down because the winds. And I'm like, that's not making me feel better. And then you're rocking back and forth. And I'm like, this thing's gonna fucking drop. I thought we were gonna die that day. It was bad.
Oof.
I don't know. That's
Yeah, that was a pretty rough one.
I just gotta say he's in his early 20s, fell 10 feet to the ground. That's not bad. I mean, he's lucky, serious injury, whatever, rib injuries. You're lucky to be alive. Like, that's not bad.
I mean, that's the best case scenario is you have one single person in their 20s who's the only person who's injured in this. Because,
So let me ask you, in your 20s, you're going to ski into your 60s, potentially. Do you get on another chairlift or are you skinning up the rest of the time?
you are already preempting the interlude of ski news.
Sorry, I want to.
That would have been a wonderful comment to make in about
It's still
3
not
minutes.
ruined. I'm just saying, like, are you afraid to get on another lift again? I'm a little afraid.
Well, it's just like when you hear about like a plane crash and you're going on a flight. You got to think how many
You get back
planes
on that
take
thing.
off every single day.
That's
And
true.
there's no incidents. How many
I'll deal with the
chairlifts are
plane.
running all over the planet right now, and there isn't any incidents.
See, with the plane though, I go to the airport a little early, get a little more liquor up, and just jump on the plane. And I'm fine. You know,
It certainly helps.
you do that.
Okay,
With the
maybe you
next
go there.
lift.
I thought you were going to say you go there early and you go talk to the flight crew. You go talk to the maintenance guys, make sure they're checking all these bolts are all tightened and everything's good to go.
No, that's creepy.
That's super creepy.
But that's not a bad idea. I'm thinking about doing that now.
Yeah, and so we talking about incidents on chairlifts. There was another recent incident that happened at Beach Mountain Ski Resort in North Carolina, where 2 guests were sent to the hospital last Friday after a snowmaking hydrant below a chairlift broke, blasting the skiers with freezing water on the occupied chair above.
Warm, cold.
Did you watch this video?
I did. Looked pretty cool.
This is
shooting everywhere.
It's shooting everywhere, and they just are in the worst possible spot to just get blasted with this snowmaking water. And it sucks. It's awful that it's happening right there.
It's hilarious. I
But
loved it.
could you imagine the temperatures last week? I think it was last Tuesday or Wednesday up in Maine, up in Sugarloaf. They're saying it was minus 50 with the wind chill. Could
Damn.
you imagine if it was that sort of weather that day where this pipe burst? That would have been like you would have had hypothermia in your chair within what, a couple minutes maybe? If that was
Yeah.
blasting you? That is terrifying. Because there's what are you gonna do? Like you're just stuck there. It's not like anybody can they're obviously stopped the chairlift for a reason and
Sitting there just getting blasted.
bombarded. And imagine like you're just starting the lift. You get on, you get blasted. They stop the lift, you get blasted with that water, and it's at least another 4 minutes to the top, and you're just frigid and soaked. And it's like again,
How long were
minus
they getting
10.
blasted?
I don't know how long, but you can watch the video. It's like if you were in New York City and someone cracked the fire hydrant open back in the day, and you're just getting because nothing you can do. Like there is literally
They said it was a
nothing you can
hydrant,
do.
right? So
It was a hydrant, yeah. It looks like it was about 2 minutes they were getting pummeled, and they finally got it moving.
so they went to the hospital. People were taken to the hospital that with injuries that were not life threatening. So I wonder if they had frostbite or hypothermia, like you said.
And imagine if they were like they were the people that like cut the line or kind of like jumped ahead to get on the lift in front of the people, and they ended up being the ones in that chair.
So
And that was
there's
when they
one
got
girl
blasted.
that was on there. She was quoted as saying, "I have bruises from head to toe, some big, some small, mainly on the left side of my body." I'm like, why would you have bruises?
I guess the water's coming out that hard.
But this person said she went to beach to celebrate her birthday. So she said the pipe erupted and then she fell.
Yeah, it was about like 2 minutes at least.
So
Well,
I guess she fell off. I don't even know.
so whenever this video started, the person's getting blasted.
She
And
wasn't
then they
that far
moved the
up.
chair a little bit.
Is she? Oh, so this person decided to jump 25 feet from the
And then
chair.
someone else got blasted a little bit.
Yeah, so this person jumped 25 feet and she hurt herself pretty bad.
So yeah, it shows like one person getting blasted, and then they get it moving again, and then then they stop again, and someone else is getting blasted for like a minute or two.
Share the love. End
Like,
of the
it's
day, I mean,
so
if you're
bad.
bundled up properly, I mean, you should be all right, right?
Dude, stop it! If you're getting blasted with water like that,
I don't know. Bundled
you gotta have
up.
like a freaking wetsuit on.
Suck it up, man.
And these are
Come
North
on.
Carolina people. These aren't like Mainers or
I
something.
know. You're like in your jeans and your gaiters. Just
And
like,
you're-
no, this is cool. I'm good
Got
like
your
this.
Charlotte Hornets jacket on there. Like, this is not good.
I have skied Beach Mountain though. It
Nice.
is not a forgiving mountain.
Huh, really? In what way?
You're in North Carolina skiing. That's why it's not forgiving.
Yeah.
It's cool to ski there. It's a little hill, but jump 25 feet, I wouldn't do it there. Because you know
No.
what? You know what's on the bottom?
Rocks.
Rocks.
Yeah.
Rocks. Dirt. Like there's no snow.
Yeah, that's bad news. So hopefully it was okay. I'm sure there'll be more information out there. And I don't think Vail owns Beach Resort, which I guess that's a big positive in the Vail column then, right?
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. Yet.
And now for our interlude from the
Yeah,
bad
so
news.
the interlude. You want me to take this one?
Go for it.
Ski the Whites has created uphill fever in Jackson, New Hampshire.
So you mentioned before about, do you stop taking the lift if you're the guy who falls off the chairlift? You can go to New Hampshire and you can go partake in this uphill fever.
Actually, I have a little note that I'll make sure to mention this when I talk about the main topic about Crested Butte. This is a thing.
Is there a fever there too?
There's a fever.
There's a fever.
Definitely a fever. It's been there for a while, but uphill skiing has gained an edge in the ski and snowboard community in recent years. So they're actually saying uphill skiing, or quote unquote skinning, utilizes synthetic skins that slide forward but not backward to assist in sliding uphill, is gaining traction due to a bunch of things. So they're saying increased lift ticket prices, improved touring gear, and a bigger interest in the solitude in the mountains. So according to National Ski Area Association's Cutcate end of season survey report, They're saying 57% of U.S. ski areas now allow some sort of uphill access. So they're saying that's up 28% from 2021, 2013, when the
2012,
survey,
2013.
I'm sorry, 2012, 2013, when the survey just began. So they're saying, ski resorts are recognizing the desire to go uphill and they're taking advantage of it. It's kind of a nice thing to have if you're willing to do it. They're saying it's a festive kind of thing to do. They're saying they have a scene called Friday Night Lights. Skiers are going up the ski slope with headlamps to illuminate the quiet stretch ahead. Pretty cool. It's more of a casual approach. And they kind of go up 2 hours to go up and they come on down. So they said now it's the 5th season that they've been doing this on New Year's Eve and has become more than
That's
person that
Andrew
runs
Drummond. Yeah, he's the guy who he's the Ski the Whites guy.
Ski the Whites guy than he initially expected when he launched it with 6 events over the course of the 2017-2018 season. Over the years, this has been growing. It's a pretty cool thing. They have a race too. So Friday Night Lights, they do every Friday from December through March 31st through March 18th, with the exception of mid-February. And they say they have a bonfire and live music, and they have bands, opera, beers, and they say at 6 p.m. the race starts, and they have these Friday Night Lights. So they have these races every Friday night. They start up. Opera is at 7:30. There's a $10 fee to cover the cost, and there's a $70 pass that is available for the season. It's kind of nice. They do a big event for it, and it seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds like a really fun time. And one other thing that they do is an event called Last Skier Standing.
Mm.
What they do is each skier has 1 hour to ascend and descend the 1,000 vertical feet to and from the summit. At the beginning of the following hour, the skiers line up before starting their next lap together. With this unique format, only one lap is allowed per skier per hour, and the lap must be finished within the same time frame. The process repeats until only one skier is left the victor.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's man standing. I like it.
Yeah. It's cool seeing this. And it's cool that, like they mentioned, like things are getting so crowded all over the place. It's really nice where, you're going to get, you're not going to get everyone doing this. That's for sure. These are really the hardcores that are coming out to do this. And they say they get about 150 on average, which is pretty solid. And they're charging $10 for the people or 70 for a season pass. It's kind of showing how, skiing is having to evolve a bit when things
Yeah.
get too crowded, when people don't want to deal with the lift lines during the day. What can you do to kind of tweak the formula and still make it really fun, still make it sliding around on snow? Boom. This is
That's
what they
awesome.
did. Friday Night Lights, doing some skinning uphill, Black Mountain in New Hampshire. This is awesome. I love this.
Well, think about it. You got nothing to do at night. You get to go up, beautiful night, see the stars, maybe see a sunset. You go up, hang out, and you come back down. Like it's got to be pretty fun.
Yeah. Speaking of not fun, how about if you're this is good actually if you're a Vail employee, I guess. Vail Resorts to offer end of season bonus to hourly employees.
Nice.
All full-time and part-time hourly employees will be eligible for a $2 an hour bonus. Calling the season incredibly challenging, CEO Kristen Lynch on Monday said employees who stick with Vail Resorts through the end of the season will receive a $2 per hour bonus for all hours worked after January 1st.
See, that's nice. That's a great incentive, right?
Look at that. What a great company. It is unusual to take these actions in the middle of the season, but this is an unusual season, Lynch told employees in an email. The full payout of the bonus will occur in May. Employees must work through their season end date to be eligible. The bonus is for this season only. Lynch said Vail Resorts will review employee compensation at the end of the season. These bonus programs are specific to this year and the unique challenges of this season, Lynch said. Lynch acknowledged that Vail Resorts workers have carried an extra burden this season. Staffing is always going to be tight. given the global labor shortage with the acceleration of Omicron, late snow, and many other factors created particularly challenging impacts for our operations teams. And one thing that was interesting that this article is from 9news.com out in Colorado. The original article that I found was in the Colorado Sun, which is behind a paywall, unfortunately. And the last line in the headline was amid sinking stock price,
Oh,
which we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times. Always remember with Vail Resorts, stockholders come first. Skiers and snowboarders and employees further down that list, way further down.
that's true.
Which kind of leads us actually to our final story in the ski news. Mario, I don't know if you want to start it or you want me to.
I want you to start this. I
Because
got a lot of talking to do in the main topic. So.
You do have a lot of talking to do in the main topic because it's pretty much the Mario show. And this is from Tom Clyde, who is a journalist out in Park City, Utah.
This is well written too.
This is really well written and very. It's just we saw the pictures, we saw the videos, and this is him kind of confirming it. It's called "This Is the Year We Broke It," and it starts talking about pretty much the Christmas season or the Christmas week in general, and just all the things like kind of the perfect awful storm that's happened this ski season, especially the big Vail and Icon resorts, more looking towards Park City in this article, but it does mention Deer Valley as well.
He does mention it doesn't it starts on the way to the resort too. Like you can't get away from it.
Yeah, they say, the snow came late, the warm November messed up the snowmaking schedule. Stuff that normally has a solid base of windproof machine-made snow went into mid-December as bare ground. It got a good dose of natural snow before the wind blew it all to Cheyenne. We'll be dealing with that issue all year. Airline schedules were beginning to fall apart before Christmas, so between uncertain flights and the resurgence of the plague, more people than usual drove this year without snow tires.
Shit got real.
Traffic was a nightmare. The weather was winter at its best, with lots of snowy days, extreme winds, and snow plowing that seemed behind the curve the whole time. Lots of people missed vacations last year and were determined to take one this year, so demand was up everywhere. In the end, it feels like we had 50,000 people cycle through town who will leave feeling like they didn't have the vacation of a lifetime. The standard excuse is, they're from Texas. They don't know any better. But if they're spending that kind of money on a ski vacation, they are experienced skiers. They know when things aren't working. Even a dog can tell the difference between getting tripped over and getting kicked.
Well, think about that this way too, right? So, now I'm in Florida, right? So I actually know a lot of people that are big time skiers that moved from the North or from the Midwest, and they go on ski vacation. So while people say, oh, they're from Texas or they're from Florida or they're from Alabama, they don't know the difference. Well, the money's moving down here and they still want to go up there to visit. So when they drop big coin on going somewhere, they expect what they expect. You know what I mean? They know what they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a nice little angry rant here, which I want to read in its exact glory. So what did we learn? Well, for starters, we learned that increasing volume by 47% without adding more lifts, parking, and food service overwhelms the operation to the point of failure. You would think all those MBAs in the Death Star in Bloomfield would have been able to figure that out.
Wow.
When all those Icon and Epic Pass holders all did exactly what the marketing had enticed them to do, take a quote-unquote free ski vacation over the holidays, the resorts can't deliver on the expectations they created. Lifts closed by thin cover, rough weather, or avalanche danger is part of the game. Lifts closed because there aren't enough lift operators is quite another. And this is where it gets even more interesting. A friend sent a Wall Street analyst report on Vail Resorts stock. He rated it as a sell because the business model of the Epic Pass is creating overcrowding and a poor customer experience that is not pleasing their customers. They won't buy again next year. Why is Wall Street commenting on lift lines? because Wall Street is running ski resorts instead of skiers. What could possibly go wrong? We have been saying this over and over and over again for years. And at first, like when we first started doing the podcast, we tried being happy-go-lucky, optimistic. We're like, people break Vail's balls. It's such a cliche thing to say as skiers. Oh, Vail sucks. Oh. And then you go experience Vail resorts, and you're like, oh, everything is right. This cliche, this saying, this phrase exists for a reason. Vail does
There's
suck.
something to what people are saying, right?
Yep. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Like this Christmas season, with, like you mentioned, the shortages of folks on airlines, shortages of staff to maintain the lift operators, the people in the concessions, moving snow, hotels. Plus, you get 47% more people buying the passes and wanting to go use them. It's a complete recipe for disaster.
It's a complete perfect shitstorm, right?
Yeah. And the only thing I can think of is, like, how could Vail in its wisdom actually make it better for everyone? Like, could they sell off some places? Like, I don't even know if that's possible. Create like a, I don't know, like a non-Vail spin-off. I mean, it's probably all the same, like Death Star thing, like when you had AT&T, when they had to break them up in the 80s and it became all these little separate companies that eventually all came back together again.
Right. But what's the ultimate solution? You're not going to please everyone, right? So if somebody doesn't like
That's
the
for
brand
sure.
that you're selling, they're going to go somewhere else. This is what you offer. This is the bringing maybe more mountain environment to the masses, and that's what you have. I mean, people hate Walmart, but you know what? Walmart's in every city. You know why?
Mhm.
It's cheap, it has everything, and it's always there. And they usually always open. You go
Well,
both ways on this, right? There's two sides of every story.
everyone loves Amazon. Everyone loves ordering stuff and getting it without having to go anywhere. That's wonderful and
I remember
beautiful, but
people were pissed off at Amazon.
people are still pissed off at Amazon.
Yeah. I remember when Amazon bought Whole Foods, and I'll never forget this. They made that announcement. I'm like, oh, and back in that time, I was kind of an Amazon hater, and they bought Whole Foods. I was like, now I like them better. And I was working with somebody like, why do you like that better? It's horrible for as a Whole Foods like person. I'm like, I like it better because they're bringing Whole Foods to everybody. Whole Foods was kind of a little class on its own.
Elitist,
Like,
yeah.
like I had to buzzer in to get in. Like they wouldn't even let me in, that kind of thing. But now it's available. Like I just order and they just deliver. I'm like, that makes total sense for what they wanted to do. People are never going to like Amazon 100%, but they're going to use it because it serves it solves a need, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
100%.
I have a need to go to a ski area that's not bankrupt. That's another thing, right? And you know what Vail's doing is they're solving that need to not have places go bankrupt when you book a trip there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of important.
Sadly, it sort of is. But
And I go back and forth on it too.
yeah. Well, with that actually gives us a nice interlude into the main topic. Because you were just at a particular Vail resort.
I was. So
Mario, let's hear it.
So I went on a wonderful media trip. Thank you to everybody from Vail, from Crested Butte, from NASJA, North American Snow Journalists Association, Snow Sport Journalists Association. So they organized a trip, and I went with our buddy Steve. This is going to be probably like 2 or 3 podcasts worth of stuff on Crested Butte because I want to get like Steve in here. We'll talk about some stuff. But I tell you what, giving the overall. So we went to Crested Butte, and I've heard about it, never went there. And I tell you what, end of the day, I had a great freaking trip. I got to say, being a flatlander at sea level, going to ski in Colorado is always like ominous because it's so, that altitude always kills me. And we stayed at about 8,300 feet. So anything over 8,000 feet, I know, I don't sleep. I get tired, the whole thing.
Elevation in the town is 8,885.
Yeah. So That's what I was at, and we were right on the mountain. Great trips. We stayed at the Grand Lodge. I gotta say, accommodations were good to excellent. Everybody's very nice. So they have it's kind of it's got a really good small town feel. So it has a feel. And Steve and I went back and forth on this when we were on the vacation. It was on the trip. It was kind of like Telluride, but only bigger. Not quite like a Whistler or something like that's really big. The town was really cool. Like not like a Jackson. So it was like a mini Jackson. Take Jackson and Telluride, split the difference, and that's like what it seems. You know?
Okay. Yeah, because they always compare Telluride to Crested Butte. Those are kind of the
Yeah.
in terms of like kind of off the beaten path, a little bit Colorado ski towns.
Right. Now, Crested Butte, so like we stayed in the mountain village and then there's the actual town of Crested Butte. They run a free shuttle back and forth. So 15 minutes, you're back and forth. And they all tell you, like, oh, if you missed the last bus coming back up the mountain, you take the drunk taxi, which is, it scoops all the drunks and it drops you off. Just kind of, just go, man. Just whatever, you know. There's no charge for anything, but, you know, allegedly you may have paid some money. I don't know. We were pretty hammered. I gotta say, the town is cool. It's quaint. Everything rolls up. So if you're looking for party town, this is where you gotta like kind of pick and choose where you go, right? So Crested Butte, great skiing. I would say it's a little more family oriented mountain because it depends what's open, right? So they have the steeps, which is what they call their very steep skiing bowls, all on the upper edge. You got the north face, you got the head wall, and all everything up there is called the steeps. They have service from, you know, different lifts and J bars, T bars, the whole thing. And we went on all that and we even did a hike up one day. So the first day we were there, we did a hike up, Uber day. And if anybody's watching the video, I got like a hole in my lip, and that's from getting too much sun the first day, which you got to put at high altitude, especially. You got to put on your sunscreen. And as Bluebird Day, I wasn't thinking because we had a whole debacle with getting there with the airlines. Got around that. So if I was planning it again, I would tell everybody, and if you're planning a trip there, look into, if you're not going to drive, you can fly into Denver and it's like a 2.5 hour drive. You can fly into Montrose. I think that's about 1.5 hours. We flew into Gunnison, 20 minutes to a half hour. If you're going to do that, get the mountain shuttle, the Alpine shuttle, I think it's called, whatever. They service all of Colorado, different shuttles. I was hoping on an Uber. Ubers are not to be found right now. Nobody's Ubering. It still relies on people willing to do it. So everybody, I
There's
think, is
just
working.
no drivers. That's the issue.
No drivers. You have Uber, but there's just nobody driving. So they're all driving their own private company shuttle, or they're driving for mountain shuttles or something else, you know?
So you're saying if you want to be a ski bum in Crested Butte, you could be an Uber driver and do all right.
So, so we got in, our bags didn't get there. Skis shit was lost. So we're like, all right, I guess it's coming in.
Really?
Yeah, I guess it's coming on a later flight. So we went over, we talked to some lady at the United counter that was really nice. She was like, here's a number for a guy that's driving here. You can call the mountain shuttle. She's like, and if you don't get a ride, like I'll drive you up myself. I was like, wow, to even offer, like, that's pretty awesome, right? So
Yeah.
kudos to her. I think her name is Julie or something, but it was really nice for her to even offer. She's like, oh yeah, my husband have this. We always have the same issues. Like people get stuck here, and I guess they both work at the airport. But the guy picked us up for a shit ton of money. Like, hey, you want to stop at the grocery store, wherever you want to stop, because we had booked him for an hour, and we rolled up there. We got everything we wanted and got settled in. And you know, we're tracking with the airline. Where's our bags? Well, they're coming on a later flight. We're like, okay. And we didn't put two and two together that our buddy Nick that came into town at the last minute, he came in on that late flight. He could have picked up our bags. And I was like,
Oh,
damn it. I should have said something, but I was like, I don't know. I was pissed off and I was just drinking at that time. So,
oh boy.
and trying to breathe, like, you know.
Yeah, boozing when you're at don't dwell at the altitude, that really doesn't help too much.
So even before I went, I was taking, they say Dramamine and Aleve will help. So 2 days before, I'm taking all that shit, taking zinc, making sure I don't get COVID. Like there's a lot of shit I was taking before even getting on that airplane. And then I get up there, I'm like, okay, the altitude's getting me. Anyway, we get up there. So we're supposed to meet people to go with the next day at like 9 a.m. So breakfast at 8. And my buddy Steve and I, of course, I'm on with the airline at like 4 in the morning because I'm on East Coast time and 2-hour change. So I wake up at 6, boom, 4 o'clock. I'm yelling at somebody in India, like, where the fuck's my bag? To no avail, because they're like, no, it's not even scheduled to go out. I'm like, all right. So I guess they're like, you can go back to the airport and pick it up. I'm like, you know what? When I get to a destination, I leave the airport. Sometimes I don't have a car, or even if I have a car, I don't want to go back to the airport because you forgot my bag. Deliver the bag and whatever. So that's the whole airline thing.
So where did it get left in Denver or?
No, so I flew into Denver, took a connection to Gunnison. So we flew into Gunnison.
Right. But where was the stuff left?
Gunnison. So it came late though. It didn't make the flight that we were on. Came like 4 hours later, 5 hours later.
Okay.
In Gunnison. I'm like,
but they left it in Denver.
Well, yeah, it didn't make our flight. So it made the next flight out, which was like 5 hours later. So anyway, it's in Gunnison. Like, oh yeah, it's in Gunnison now. I'm like, yeah, that's like 5 hours after we were there. So long story short, we called the same guy that took us up to the mountain and we're like, hey, can you pick up our bags for us? He's like, sure, I'll pick up your bags. So paid him some money, brought our bags up. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, go to the airport, go to whatever airlines are there and be like, are these bags left? Because I could take them up. Give me like $50 a bag. You would clean up.
Well, don't like a lot of places isn't like an airline policy, like if they lose your bag or misroute it, like it's on them to get it to you?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean the next day. It should.
Eventually they'll get it to you.
Right. So that same week, my son went back to school and he didn't get his hockey sticks. So he got them like 2 days later. One of them was broken. So great.
Ugh.
So that's great. I don't really care. I need my ski pants and my helmet. Otherwise, I'm going to buy new shit and charge it. But it was also the timing. Like stores don't open till 9. We want to be on the mountain at 9. We had guides taking us around. So I'm like, fuck that. So we paid this guy, grab our bags. They got there 8:30, got everything out, did our quick thing. Boom, met everybody at 9, skied the whole place. So what was open when we were there is they just dropped lines on a lot of stuff. One of the places we went, if you look at the map, so we started at the Red Lady Chair almost every day because that's where our hotel was, right? So we started there because we were right at the base area. So we went up, and if you look at, there's Paradise Bowl. So if you look Paradise Bowl and just north of that, there's Headwall.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we skied a whole bunch of other stuff. And then about midday, we're like, you know what? That looks pretty cool too. And nobody's on it. And they're like, yeah, well, it's usually serviced by that high lift. If you look on the top, the high lift, and you could drop down into that head wall.
Okay.
So that high lift wasn't running. I guess they were still blowing for avalanche. So we decided, hey, let's hike up from the top of that Paradise Express. We basically hiked up to like the middle of that part. If you see where Big Chute is, we kind of hiked up there.
Okay.
And then we ski traversed across and then dropped into the head wall there.
Oh, nice.
And that was fun as hell. There's nobody on it. It was steep as hell. It was great. It was fun. Just too short. It was like about a 20-minute hike up. And then we skied down. It was pretty fun.
So now, is that considered the steeps over there?
Yeah. So in the top, so there are, so right there is, and then the north face, if you look to the left of that, left and down on the map, those are all steeps, all these bowls, Spellbound Bowl, Phoenix Bowl. There's tons of bowls. Not all of them are open, but that I believe is the steeps. And then the banana on the top right, the whole Crested Butte mountain, none of that was open because it was thin cover. Those are serious chutes. Like you drop into those, and those are chutes that go down. It was too thin cover, and they were blowing, especially on the peak, they were blowing for avalanche right up there. So
okay.
none of that stuff was open. But yeah, the steeps, they call it the steeps, and it's like all the double black. And I got to tell you, it's pretty steep. After skiing Jackson, Telluride, those are very steep areas. Kind of some, I would say, no fall zone. You kind of, if you fall, you're going down for a while.
Yeah.
So we did that. The first day we did the head wall. Second day, it snowed about 4 inches before we woke up. And we went out. They dropped the line on International, which is is it a black or double black? I think it's a double black. That's a great run, like all the way down. It's like a downhill run almost, and it was groomed. That was really fun. So we did that to start out, and then we head up to the North Face, and we did the North Face, and we did a bunch of the stuff over there. We did 2 laps on the North Face because we were able to cut the line. People were probably pissed, but we're like, I don't care. We're with guides. We're doing whatever we want. So we did that, and the North Face was great. It's like trees, and we had fresh powder. I mean, we had some really great time over there. And then just seeing so you're in the North Face, and there's a few lines that you look at, and they're like, yeah, that's like an expert line. It's like kind of off the range of like double black. And we're sitting there watching these snowboarders just bop down and then hit this rock and just bomb off this rock and do these aerials. And I'm like, first guy that I saw, I was like, oh, he's dead. And then lands it, and he's like, oh, that was awesome. And I was like, yeah, it was pretty awesome to watch too, So, but that was cool. We did that the second day. And then the third day, we just kind of did a lot of the blues, and we were just, my legs were fried. So we did blues, we did international, we did the blacks and blues. We were black and blue pretty much. So
Nice.
But yeah, if you look on the right, there's that international.
Yeah, I see that. There's like the upper international and lower international.
Yeah, and there's like Joker, Twister, all those. So they were all bumped up. Like Jokerville, Twister, Crystal, they were all bumped up. And then you could go on part of those and then jump into international. So we were kind of doing a little bit of bumps and jumping into there. We did some bumps here and there. And then just international was fun. Just flew down that thing. So
Nice.
it was a lot of fun. Had a good time. Saw the mountain, went into town. I tell you what, the people that hooked us up with the trip, they were great. Just a lot of good people that helped us out with that. So there's Jess Miller from Vail, Scott Clarkson from Crested Butte, and then Jeff Blumenthal from Najda. They set up a good trip. Jess was great. She hooked us up with I had demos, so I used my skis, then I used some demos. That was a lot of fun.
What'd you end up using?
So they gave me some Black Ops, some Rosino Black Ops.
Okay.
And they were fun. I gotta say, they were pretty good. And then I had my DPS skis, which my hybrids, which I like breaking out, but they're a little intimidating. They're great when you got powder, which I broke out for the powder day, and it was a lot of fun. But on the non-powder day, not as fun. So I went back to the Black Ops, and that was really cool. But we went so our guides were Dusty Dyer and Rachel Hartman, and Dusty and Rachel were great. They took us all over the place, and they're legit. They were talking about their experiences and them being at Crested Butte. It's really funny. A lot of people seem to gravitate, even if they leave the area, they come back to Crested Butte because they love the area and the mountain, and it's kind of chill. So Dusty was telling me that it's one of the colder places to ski in Colorado. So the good part of it is it doesn't ice up. And he skied on the East Coast. He skied Killington. We were talking about like the ice that you ski out here. And he was like, no, I've skied it all. Like he was there for a while. And now he travels. He does evaluations and passing of tests of like ski instructors. He does clinics like internationally. So I'm like, oh, these are legit people.
And was that through NASA or through the mountain?
Oh, that was from the mountain. So
Okay.
Dusty and Rachel, they work for the mountain as guides and lessons they do. We met the GM Tara Schodinger. She was great. I tell you what, we hung out with Tara, skied with her for a while, talking to her about the mountain, and she really puts her love into it. One of the big things I noticed, and they started doing with COVID because of the pinch, is everybody's working every every job on the mountain. So we hung out with her the one day in the morning, and then the next day we actually on the mountain, we're getting on the lift and we see her scanning tickets. So we're like,
All hands on deck.
it was just pretty cool. Talked a lot about sustainability, what they're doing for that, and there's more to that. I think that's where I want to have our buddy Steve on, because he was talking to the sustainability manager Ryan Grote about what they're doing for sustainability. It seems pretty cool, and it's interesting to hear from the mountain point of view, because it's not something that's being forced on them. It's something they're trying to do on the mountain because it makes sense, but they're also trying to do some outreach to the community to try to get everybody involved to actually get more of a magnified bang for your buck. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things, like if they're sustainable and they recycle and they, do certain things, that's one drop in the bucket. But now when you get everybody in town to do that, that's where you're talking about really moving the needle. So they're kind of moving in that direction. And it's kind of twofold. They're moving in that direction with Vail, and they're trying to move in that direction with town, which is good to see, bringing them along for the ride.
I mean, when you're a town that you're an industry that depends on the cold and on snow. There's only you have to do everything you can, obviously, to promote not altering the climate. Like
Yeah.
anything you do that can, theoretically reduce the amount of carbon in the air and keep
Right.
the climate from heating up and warming. You got to do what you got to do. Otherwise you're
Yeah.
kind of SOL there.
So one of the things I thought was interesting, they said at all of their areas to eat, they don't want you to put the stuff in the garbage, because they say a lot of the problem, they do like the whole sort thing of like compostable, breakdownable, and whatever, the recyclables, like the way they break them down. And they said it's actually more efficient to have their own people do the breaking down of everything, because sometimes you go to these like bins and you're like, you want to help out, you don't want to just leave your shit on the table, and you want to go help out and put stuff into the bins, but you don't exactly know which bin to put in, and you might put it in the wrong one. So what they say is, we ate and they're like, no, you leave all your stuff. And I remember her telling us that, and we're like, but you don't understand, we have manners, like we were taught a certain way when we were little, just don't leave there and expect somebody to pick up your stuff. They're like, no, we want you to leave it there because we want to break it down for you.
You are far too stupid to do this right. I'm telling you.
Exactly. But I thought it was interesting. They said they actually are trying to push and make people aware, like, leave your stuff there. We're going to break it down. We're going to separate it, because they could separate it down however they want to break it down. I'm like, that's actually a pretty good idea.
That's like, but yeah, again, as someone who grew up with manners and like not to leave their stuff behind, that's
Yeah.
being like, hey man, just take a dump anywhere you want. Like, we'll take care of it.
We got this.
We got this. Like,
It's on us, man.
We got a better solution than this whole toilet wasting of water every time we take a dump. Take it up on the floor. We'll clean it up. It'll be great.
Yeah, that's funny as shit, man.
Literally funny shit.
Literally. So the next day, then we went to, so at night, one of the nights we went to the Crested Butte Museum, and I was kind of like, okay, we're going to look at stuff. And they actually had fat tire bikes from like a long time ago, long before we even thought fat tire bikes were around.
Well, isn't Crested Butte also considered the the home of mountain biking? Like, that's where it started.
So they do a lot of biking. They're starting to do more downhill mountain biking and expanding that, because they said the summer they do so much hiking, camping, biking. Like, it's incredible. A lot of people, they have tons of trails, but they also, outside of their mountain, people will jump over, because it's all national parks, right? So Crested Butte, they lease out from the national parks. So you jump in there in the summer, and you're going through national parks and all sorts of different areas that you can go on for miles and miles. You can actually go all the way up to Aspen from the Butte.
Really?
They say, yeah, like you got to go. They actually said they do some events. There's a cross country one where you cross country ski from Crested Butte to Vail and back, and then there's like I think there's a hike
Wait, not to
run.
Vail, to Aspen, right?
I mean, sorry, to Aspen.
To Vail, that would be insane.
Yeah, no, to Aspen. And then there's one that they do on mountain bike, I think. So there's a bunch of different things. They say you look at different times of the year and they run all these different events, which are pretty cool. And then one of the other big things, which I didn't realize about Crested Butte, there's a ton of backcountry skiing. So Crested Butte, it's not even like through the mountain. It's not even like gates or side country or something like that. But people just go up. They go through a hike trail and they just go. And you're on, I believe most of the time you're on national park land. But we met with the people from the Crested Butte Avalanche Center, and we spoke to the executive director, Than Akuf, I think his name. And Than was very informative. Like he actually pointed out to me, I didn't realize that their avalanche center is not regulated, owned, run by any organization. They're a nonprofit. They get grants, they get federal money from different sources. They raise a lot of it is donations, which I didn't realize. And Crested Butte, they were showing us like they have 3 full-time forecasters, and they're like most mountains or most avalanche centers are lucky if they have 1 full-time. So because they have so many, they log in like, okay, they're logging like 400 avalanches this year already, whereas some of the other areas are only logging like 50 or 25. And that's because they don't recognize that an avalanche has happened because they don't have a lot of full-time forecasters. So they'll go out and they're logging all this data, and that data can be used to start plugging in like, okay, well, we see this area is avalanching a lot, even though people aren't getting trapped or noticing, we're showing there's something going on there. So it's kind of cool, like how they're doing that. But they're saying like there's been an increase. I forgot, I have notes on it in another book, but they're actually talking about like a severe increase in people going in the backcountry. They're still saying, because we're asking them like, do you see a problem with the equipment that people are carrying or the deaths being in people that are, novices? And they're like, no, they're still seeing the deaths being a lot of people that have done it for years, a lot of trouble. People have done it for years. They just take it for granted. But one of the things they said, I was surprised. They said, no, we see a lot of people going in with the basics. And again, you got to remember, shovel, probe, and beacon is the basic. But they said what they would like to see is people don't realize you go up. So Than was saying that he goes out in the morning. He'll go out like 7 in the morning, whatever. Like a lot of backcountry will go out. You see him getting bagels, getting, whatever, breakfast, coffee, whatever. And then they go out and they come back. And he's like, well, what I see, which is a little more disturbing, is people go out later and later in the day. So they might go out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon thinking, sun's not set until 5. He's like, but you get on some of these faces and all of a sudden you're shadowed from like 2:30 on. And
yeah,
if you go out, because he said he goes out with some people that go, light and lean, just to go do a quick up and quick down. And if they get caught in, that shadow hits, they get severely cold. And they're like, you're not prepared for that. So when you go up later, you got to be prepared for being stuck out there, and it getting a little bit cold. He's like, there's some other gear that people don't realize. Like, what happens if you get stuck? You don't have any overnight gear. You don't have, one of those metal blankets like to keep you alive overnight. How many people remember carry a first aid kit? So you go out with your avalanche, gear, your basics, your shovel probe beacon. Do you have a first aid kit? Most people don't. They have the shovel probe beacon. Somebody cuts a finger, or he said he came across somebody that hit a rock. They fell on a rock and they had a gash that was like down to the bone. Well, what are you going to do for that? If you only have your basics, you're like, I could poke my probe in it. That's not going to help. I could shovel some snow on it. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, you realize that you're a caveman out there because you have nothing, So it's one of those things, like, think about how long you're going to be out, where you're going to go. And that was very interesting to me. I think we could dig into that more for future stories too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of eye-opening. It's great when you talk to people who are actually there every day and have the real experiences of
Yeah.
what's going on and what they're seeing people doing right and wrong. Because the basics are great, but little
They are
things
the
like that.
basics. People forget
I
they're
mean,
the basics.
how much does a first aid kit, if you're bringing some gauze, some bandages, like what's that? It's not going to weigh you down. Like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff it's enough that it's the risk reward, the trade off or the extra weight it's completely out the
Do you
window. Like
do
it
you have a
doesn't.
French press and some coffee? Because I get stuck out there. I want some fucking coffee. Somebody better make that shit for me.
There you go. How to heat up the water though?
That's right. You gotta have a sterno. See, you gotta bring that
Bring a
too.
sterno. Yeah.
Bring that. Bring a
Sternos
guy
are
with
light.
that sterno.
See?
But yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like I never thought about in that respect, like because he goes out like every day. Like him and his
Mhm.
buddies, they all go out every day. And he's like, we might do 2 hike ups a day. We start at 7 in the morning, do 2 hike ups a day. He's like, but stuff comes up and you get delayed, and then you're like, oh, you don't have this? Like, why don't you have a first aid kit? Why don't you have overnight blanket or something warmer to wear? Like it happens. You get stuck.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. And then they were talking about Crested Butte Nordic Center, and this girl Molly Salsa, she's actually the Nordic team head coach at Crested Butte.
Oh, cool.
She was saying like during COVID they had an explosion of Nordic, desire to go into Nordic, and part of it was driven when COVID hit and nobody could do anything. They decided, let's just open it up. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about it. Just come on down, borrow the gear, go out, do some cross country skiing just to get out. And they said they had a huge turnout from the from Gunnison and from Crested Butte to come in and do Nordic. And now they do some outreach programs. They said there's a lot of I forgot what there's an Indian tribe or an indigenous people that is actually moving into Crested Butte, and there's more and more of them coming. I forgot the name of them. I'll have to go through my notes. They started doing outreach because they're like, these people that don't necessarily have the means to do it and get into the sport, they're actually getting into the sport. And it's pretty cool to see, that outreach, and it's a whole community, and everybody in the community loves it. We even met one of the waitresses at the Elevation Hotel, which is also on the mountain. She was actually telling us, she's like, this is a pretty cool place. She's like, I decided to go into this. She's like, they pay me, I forgot what they said per week, and then she has a hotel room for something like $250 a month, and they give her a lift ticket and food, and she just worked her ass off. I'm like, that's a great deal.
It's not bad.
They definitely do have, when we're talking to people from the chamber during the trip, they definitely do have the same problem every mountain's having, where you don't have enough affordable housing for your workers. For what are you gonna do, have them in Gunnison? Well, Gunnison's a half hour away. If you have a snowstorm, you're at a disadvantage, because now you can't even get your workers to your mountain. They're pissed off because they can't get there. Like everybody's just hurt in that whole scenario. So
Yeah.
they're trying to find ways to do something for affordable housing, but it's tough because they don't have a lot of land. They're almost at the point of like a Telluride where they're maxing out the land.
Because of all the national park that they can't really build on, right?
Well, it's national park, and then there's giant land grants and just landowners around there that are like, we're holding on to our land. We don't want to develop it. I mean, there's one. We're on the back side of the mountain, and we're looking at, like, we're getting on the left, and we're looking at this river, and across the river there's a like huge area, and they're like, yeah, that's all land that's owned by one rancher, but he doesn't want any public access to it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? Like, he wouldn't have a bike trail or something for somebody to go through? Like, no, he doesn't want public access to that land at all.
Wow.
And they're like, it's not that he's doing it just to be the landowner. He doesn't want to see it disturbed. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Think about it. Sucks for Crested Butte, but
Yeah,
pretty
right.
cool that it keeps it nice and untouched around. So
Yeah.
and then the town, I think we can get into it, Steve, in another podcast, but Restaurants are pretty good, great food. They had a lot of wild game, a few fancy restaurants, and then everything else was kind of like pizza, burgers, and normal stuff. A lot of cool, chill places to like go and listen to music and stuff like that. Whole town, pretty much count on it closing up around 9 p.m. And then there's a few spots that are, collegey, just normally, just
For the
everybody.
locals.
Yeah, everybody floating in and out that are open a little bit later, maybe till like, I don't know, 12 or 1. So it was pretty cool. We had a fun time. I couldn't breathe. I was happy to get back.
Did you have a favorite like spot on the mountain? Like favorite stuff that you were skiing?
On the mountain, I wish I would have done. So North Face, they just opened. North Face was a lot of fun. I could see doing that a little bit more. It was intimidating. So that's just it. Like if I was by myself or like we were together, we didn't know the mountain, I'd be intimidated to do North Face by myself. With the guide, I was like, okay, let's drop this thing. You're gonna guide us into stuff. Stormy. You're gonna guide us into stuff that we can get to.
Or Stormy?
There's Stormy. He's popping his little head up. He's like, what's up, everybody? Stormy, you say hi? He's like, what's up, everyone? Aw. Yeah, I'd say North Face was really good, and the international run was great. It was like we were flying down that thing, and all the other terrain. I was surprised. I would say for as difficult as those steeps are, and as challenging as they are, everything else in the place was more family oriented, blues and greens, like nice, easy cruising, groomed out. Like it was nice. I gotta say, wasn't too challenging. So I could see doing like a family vacation. People don't want to go by the black runs. Stay away from plenty of like blue and green terrain to hit. So
very nice.
Yeah, it was a very good trip. I was surprised to see it. Seemed a little remote to get to. Like I said, you gotta do Gunnison half hour, Denver 2.5, and
well, that's sort of the nice thing about it is that like you get all the Route 70 places like the Vale, the Breckenridge, all those places that everyone drives out to from Denver and Boulder.
Yeah,
a place like this, like Telluride, they're further off the beaten path, makes them a little more special, a little more, like you said, a little more remote.
Yeah. Now it was definitely a great trip.
How would you compare it to Telluride in terms of the mountain and the town? And
so Mountain Town, I would say Telluride has the advantage. I'd say advantage Telluride. Reason being, town was nice and compact, a little livelier. And I gotta say, Telluride had some more difficult terrain. It was a little more interesting. Crested Butte, I think if you want to do a little more backcountry or advanced terrain that feels like backcountry, Crested Butte's right in the wheelhouse there. And I would say it's not as lively as Telluride, but definitely cool town. Operates. It's not anything wild or anything like that. So it's kind of cool. Definitely an old minor town. It's a historic town. So like you can't just drop a building and put a new one up.
Did you have any dinner spots that really stood out for you?
So, dinner spot that stuck out. I mean, we went to one place, it was the Dogwood, and they had tapas. They had like, small plates and stuff. That was good, but we kind of went there like looking for a meal, and that was kind of a wrong assumption because it was a great cocktail bar with small plates, and it lived up to that name. There was, I think it's called Prime in town. I didn't go there. Your buddy Nick went there, and he had a great elk steak there.
Oh,
so they had
language.
Like elk, beef, like the whole thing. And that place was legit, but you're talking about 67, 80 bucks, 60, probably like 60 to 70 bucks for like an elk steak.
Didn't you just take down the whole Seminole tribe with your big casino win?
I did, but I'm
afford
frugal.
a fancy steak.
I'm a frugal guy.
You are just you're a walking hypocrisy there.
But I tell you what, we had some legit food. They had the social, was it social or community social? I forgot the name of it. That was pretty good.
Did you go to Backcountry Cannabis?
Did not go. Where was that?
I just
In town?
remember it's definitely in Crested Butte, and
Son of a bitch.
it's by the ice skating rink, by the ice rink over on Bellevue, I think, and 4th Bellevue
Oh,
by
I
the
probably walked right by it and didn't realize
by
it
the
was
Irwin Brewing Company.
the Irwin. I didn't even see the Irwin Brewing
Yeah,
Company.
it's a little off the beaten path. But I just remember like seeing that one time, looking up like a bunch of just at the town and looking at, what dispensaries there. And I was like, Backcountry Cannabis. Like, I love that name.
Damn,
And when
it was
that
right
whole
there.
and when Backcountry was suing everybody with Backcountry in their name, like that
Yeah,
was
that's
one of the
right.
first other companies I thought of was poor Backcountry Cannabis having to hire lawyers. They're just trying to smell some weed in Crested Butte and big fancy Park City, Utah backcountry is like, we're gonna sue everybody with this
See,
in
we
their
probably could have
name.
walked there because we didn't even walk there. Everything was on Elk Avenue. So we basically just stayed on Elk Avenue and cruised up and down.
Okay.
Big Mine, Ice Arena. We didn't see any of that.
None of that stuff, huh?
Son of a bitch.
A lot of
If
good
I had
stuff.
Google,
A lot of good stuff.
I missed a lot of stuff. I have to go back.
I have to go back.
I have to visit Backcountry Cannabis.
Butte Bagels.
Calico Queen Tattoo. I could have gotten tattoo while I was there. What the fuck? He's killing me. I could come back with the snake on my neck that like I've always wanted. If anybody owns a tattoo shop and would give us tattoos on our neck, let us know.
Mario is very pro neck tattoo.
I think I want a Jets logo. Brian wants a Giants logo. We'll do
I
it
would
over
never
a
get
bet.
a Giants logo.
Tampa Tom, like his face right on your neck.
Right on my buttock, my right buttock. Just Tom Brady, his handsome face.
Tom Brady's handsome, Mr. Handsome. Yeah.
Funny thing. So I was at Shawnee on Friday with my son.
How was that?
It was great. It was like a fun day. Indy Pass, hashtag Indy Revolution.
Nice.
Shawnee.
Into
I
shit up.
saw a couple. I think it was a guy and a girl. I didn't ask their genders, but they had a Joe Klecko and Mark Gastineau jerseys, like the two of them.
It's legit.
Friggin' New York Sack Exchange right there
Exchange,
in
that's
Shawney.
right.
It was
Damn.
hilarious. I was like, wait a minute. They were together. I was like, Klecko and Gastineau. I'm like,
You can't
that
separate
is
them.
quality right there.
Always together. See, you can't even separate them.
Do they even have nose guards anymore? Like, wasn't that what Klecko was, or nose tackle?
Nose.
Is that even a position anymore? Like, do they still have that?
They say it, but it's only in like tough towns.
Like a nose guard. Like, what? That's
dude.
It's
Mark
awful and
Gastineau
awesome.
was the reason they stopped the
drug testing.
That and the celebrations. Remember, he would celebrate on a sack for like 2 minutes. He would just go on and on like woo,
like an orchestrated,
right.
Choreographed routine after a sack.
Yeah, he'd go nuts, and people would love it. And they're like, no, we got to stop this. Like the game's going too long. Like, really?
It's like
really,
they're
NFL?
bringing out a stretcher for the quarterback. Like, can you guys maybe dial it back a bit?
Yeah. No, but the NFL, like, you really want to eliminate the time that you can run more ads? Like, why, why not have another 15 minutes on the halftime show? Like, why not do, like, really?
But this sack dance brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, right? It should be sponsored. Sponsored.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to celebrate extensively if you have a sponsor.
There you go. That's
right?
What I'm talking about.
That works. Everybody wins then. Yeah.
So, overall, Crested Butte, cool town, good family vibe skiing with some gnarly stuff up in the steep area.
Yeah, it's family. If you want to leave your family for a run or two and go up to visit the steeps, that's kind of cool. Or do some backcountry and then do steeps on a rest day.
And how'd you like your hotel?
Oh, hotel was good, clean. They had a huge hot tub. I was surprised. I was impressed.
Do they have like outdoor hot tub?
Must be outdoor. That. Yeah. No, it was good. The hotel was legit. Big room, 2 king beds. Like it was pretty nice setup. So yeah. I wasn't unhappy with the room. I tell you what, if I did it again, in my personal opinion, I would have stayed down the mountain because that shuttle is like 15 minutes and it's free. It's through the town. So in the morning and afternoon, you just jump on with all your ski stuff, go up and down the mountain, bada bing, bada bang.
So you wouldn't have stayed right next to the mountain. You would have stayed more in town.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's logistically some benefit to staying on the mountain because the morning you wake up, boom, you're right there.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, and it might be partially for COVID, the après ski scene is not huge right now, and it's probably because of COVID. Goddamn COVID. But you pretty much, a lot of people will stop skiing between 3 and 4. They'll grab one drink and then boom, they're down the mountain near their hotel and they go out to eat and hang out. Like, it's nicer when you can après ski and then start eating a little something to tide you over. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we're kind of stuck in the village. We're like, all right, let's go hot tub, change, shower, or whatever, and go down the mountain like early, so that's kind of what we did.
Okay.
So it works both ways. I mean, you can make it work, but my personal preference probably would have been to suck it up and just stay down, kind of like what we did for Jackson. Staying in Teton Village would have been great, but I'm sure it would have died off at night versus being in town. I mean,
Yeah,
because that town was pretty dope.
Jackson is very cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it that way.
But yeah, fun
All right,
time.
cool. Yeah, this
Next
sounds.
time you got to make
so-
sure you can break out and join us.
Yes, there were some issues that could not be addressed for
No,
this
it's all
trip, and
You got it.
I actually had some personal stuff going on too that I really couldn't break away from. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a couple other events that are NASU related that I intend to make in this ski season, both up in Vermont and hopefully out in Sun Valley. That is my thinking.
Fingers crossed.
There's some good
We'll
stuff going on.
See if we make it happen,
I'm excited. So this sounds like it was an awesome trip. Like you said, we're probably going to have a couple other discussions about this. Hopefully we'll get Steve on. If we can get Nick on too, that would be great.
Dude, that'd be awesome. We get them both on, talk about the place.
I haven't seen Nick since we skied in Vail in 2019. So it's been a couple years. Goddamn.
I know he said his parents moved, so there's no reason for him to come to Jersey anymore.
Yeah, his parents are in Cape Cod now in Mass. But I don't think he's even been out there in the last 3 years. So
place that doesn't suck in the summer, right?
There are worse places to be. Listen, I will take the Jersey Shore over Cape Cod.
Boom. Oh, you throwing the gauntlet down.
Well, it's because I live a mile and a half from the beach, but that's
I know.
just me for now.
That's pretty awesome. Where you
So
live.
Mario, it sounds like, again, awesome trip. Thanks for going out there and representing the podcast and making hopefully some friends and some new contacts.
Hopefully some friends.
Hopefully some friends. Hey man, the thing is we spread love. We bring love. Whenever we go somewhere, we're always making great connections and great conversations and getting people interested in about this show because we love what we do. So we want to get more people involved with this. So
yeah,
I'm excited. Good. I'm glad you guys had a good time. I can't wait to hear more about it from Steve and Nick as well. And we'll get some more of the sustainability report from Steve. I know he was doing his research ahead of time on that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we'll get that set up in the next couple of weeks. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll have show notes, of course, at skibumpodcast.com. Mario will have some links that he wants us to check out on there. Follow us on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Untapped, at Skibump Podcast. Send us an email, skibumpodcast@gmail.com. Boom. We'll send you some stickers. Just hit us up. Let us know. We'll get you some. We also got a shop, skibumpodcast.com/shop.
Get some merch.
Big shout out, thank you to our sponsors, Terracea. Go to terracea.com, use the code TerraceaBum, 15% off. Thank you, Paradise Skis. Go to paradiseskis.com, use the code SKIBUM15, 15% off. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your ski season. Get out there, hit the snow, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Stay high, stay polluted.
See ya.